Hey you guys. Okay, so it's time to do a stencil project. I've got like a really cute little stencil here. I just made this on my Cricut. It's a pretty simple stencil, and I'm gonna do like a sort of a gradient fade here. And you know, you can get tons and tons of stencils online. You can get them at Michael's, Hobby Lobby. So if you want to break up the colors, like if you wanted to do 2 or 3 colors, you could use some masking tape, and you simply just, like, I've got yellow loaded in here ready to go, so I could cover up all the parts that I don't want yellow and leave the parts that I do want yellow open, spray those down, take the masking tape off, cover up my yellow, and then put a new color in my airbrush, and then do a second color. So use the masking tape is great, especially when you've got stencils. It's going to help you kind of block off some of the overspray. There's really no way to avoid overspray. So you also want to have some other cardstock candy. I've got this left over from earlier. It's good and dry. It's not going to get the shirt wet with paint. And what we're going to do is just kind of cover up some of these edges when I get close to the edges, and I'll just use my hand and kind of do it like this. That way we don't get overspray around the edges here. You don't want, like a rectangle or a square bit here and then like bits of paint on the edge. And overspray is just something you can't avoid with an airbrush. So just have these little tips and tricks to kind of get around it. Okay, so I am going to start spraying the shirt. Like I said, I'm going to do a gradient. I've got yellow loaded. I'm going to spray the parts that I really want yellow, and then we'll load some green, and it'll kind of like fade from one color to the next. So here we go. Okay, so I'm just kind of positioning this here. I'm going to make sure it is centered, and I'm going to add a little bit of masking tape here to the edges. I don't want it to be shifting and stuff. Okay. It's going to help with some of that overspray as well. Okay, so I got my shirt in place. Just going to add a little bit here as well. There we go. Now we've got it good and taped down, so we don't have to worry about it shifting. Okay, so like I said, I've got my yellow paint already loaded. It's already good to go, and I'm going to turn this on. Okay, yellow's coming out really good. Like I said, I'm going to do a fade, a little gradient action going on there. How do we want to do this? Okay. This is where I'm going to start fading my yellow out. And this little bit here is going to be green, and then I want my lemons and the word squeezy to be nice and yellow. It's going to be a little bit of green overspray on it, but that's okay. I think it's going to be super cute. We're going to have a cute little shirt. And I'm just using my acrylic paints here. Okay, so let's switch screen. And then I'm going to do just like a fade in these other bits. Into the word lemon. It's going to be a little green, a little bit of yellow green mix. Look at how cute. Turned out pretty good. You can see there's a definite fade there from the yellow to the green and then back to the yellow. So I got some green leaves and some yellow lemons. Super cute. Okay, so we finished our t-shirt project. It came out super, super cute. I love the fade. I love the gradient. And you know, I wanted to show you this tip really quick. If you've got a heat gun, you can quickly dry your projects, especially if you're doing something oil-based that takes a little bit longer to dry. And Chandler Tool makes a great heat gun. It's like a hair dryer. You want to keep it moving. Keep it moving. Don't let it sit in one spot. It's got two settings. It's got a high and a low. So this is going to help you dry your projects up quicker. So, great little thing to have on handy when you're airbrushing so you can help accelerate that drying time. So, now let's move on to the cake stuff. I got some cupcakes here. And I've got my cake over here. I've got a Lazy Susan. We are going to start decorating these cakes. I have a very, very clean airbrush here. We are going to put some food safe paint in it. Remember, anytime you're using food safe paints, you're going to want to give a very deep and thorough cleaning to your airbrush so you don't have any of those other paints lingering behind. So we're going to go ahead and paint these up. And once we get done with all of our projects, we're going to really break this down, and I'm going to show you all the inside parts and how to give this a deep clean. But before we get to that, let's work on some of these projects. So let's get to it. I'm super excited about decorating these cakes. Cakes are just fun to decorate, right? Because you get to eat it later. So, okay, here we go. Okay, you guys, so here we are. We're getting ready to decorate these cupcakes. This is what I'm going to start with, this super red. I looked it up, and the manufacturer says these don't need to be diluted. So you are good to go putting it right into your paint cup. And so I'm just going to drop a few drops. I don't want to use a lot here. These are really, really concentrated. So, and these are tiny cupcakes. It's going to go really quick. Another drop or two. Okay. Now, I'm going to put the top back on here. And you can see my colors are turning, my fingers are turning colors. Okay. So, here we go. I'm going to just start painting. I'm going to turn this on. I've got it, I'm going to turn down the adjuster knob a little bit. Okay. So what I'm going for here is just a little bit of a gradient. I'm going to start with the red at the bottom. These are coming out pretty bright. If I go in a little bit more, it's going to get even more intense. If I go in a little bit closer. Ooh. So I'm really happy with that color, you guys. Okay, so I'm just going to continue to paint these. And you guys, these aren't real cupcakes. I feel like I need to come clean and tell you that. These are dummy cupcakes that I bought for the shoot. You know, sometimes things don't go right in a shoot and you need to be able to start over. So I wanted to be able to like repaint these white. But the principles still apply here. You're still going to paint the cupcakes like this. I'm going to get a little more intense here at the bottom. Okay, let's paint this one. Then we're gonna switch to like a yellow color, and we're hopefully gonna at the end have a nice red to orange to yellow gradient, because I'm gonna do this middle bit more orangey, and then we'll have a nice bright yellow on the top. Okay, so let's switch to yellow. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna start painting the yellow. Ooh, look, it's turning it orange right there. And then it's gonna be yellow on top. So we're gonna have a great like red to yellow gradient from red to orange to yellow. Have some really pretty gradient cupcakes with some food safe paint. And you know, I only had to put in a couple of drops of yellow because we didn't use that much, and now we won't have as much to clean out. It really helps to use as little paint as you possibly can, so you don't have so much maintenance and care cleaning it up. Okay, so let's clean this out, and then we're gonna move on to decorating our cake. Okay, so we're ready to move on to painting our cake. Now, I've got my food safe paints here. We just finished doing the cupcakes, so I just gave it a good rinse. It's still deep cleaned from earlier, and don't have to dilute these paints. I'm just going to put in a few drops here, and I'm gonna start with my lighter blue. And the good thing about this particular design and this particular cake is if I start with my lighter colors, I can work my way up to my darker colors because it's all the same color palette. And this is going to be a mishmash of gradients and colors. So I'm not going to change or clean colors in between because it's just all variants of blue and purple. And I'm going to start with my lighters, move on to the darkers. That way I don't have to clean in between. So good little tip there. Okay, here we go. I've got my nozzle all the way opened up because I want to cover a lot of area here. And I'm not really doing anything in particular here. I'm just trying to cover some surface area with this lighter blue. Okay, so I've loaded my purple and I'm ready to start painting the purple. Woo! Look how pretty that is. Okay, so again, I've got it just wide open. I don't need to hold back here. And I'm just painting like random swirls. You know, I want it to be, this galaxy cake is all about gradients from light to blue. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to come back and give it another coat here in a little bit just to kind of finish it off. It's really saturated with paint right now, so I really want to let that dry, come back and do another coat so we can get a deeper, richer color. Okay, so let's talk about scale models. Now, I bought this one just online at a hobby store. It's an inexpensive model just so that I can demonstrate to you that you can paint on plastic with the oils. So what I have found is that using the acrylic on these like plastic scale models doesn't work well. It kind of beads up and it doesn't want to adhere to the plastic, but these oils work really well. So we're going to do just like a simple camo pattern. If you want to follow along, if you've got some scale models and you want to paint along, we're really just going to be doing some random like little camo swirly things. The thing is with these enamel paints, you're going to want to make sure that you are using a thinner that is oil based. You can't clean this with water. And the thinner that I bought can also double as a cleaner. So when I get ready to clean these out and change the colors, we are going to use that same little, here it is right here, bam. So it's just an enamel based thinner and cleaner, and we're going to use that in here to kind of thin these out and then clean them. So let's get to it. Okay, so I've got my paints here, I've got my thinner. Now normally I don't mix these in the paint cup. I like to mix them in little vials. You can absolutely mix them in the paint cup. There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't prefer it. I prefer to mix it right into a little vial. That way I can kind of control how much of each thing is getting used. So I'm going to use the dropper here. I'm going to start with my thinner. And the great thing about these droppers is it's got the numbers here that tell you how much you're using. So I can mix it pretty evenly. Let's see. There, I got a half. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. And then I'm going to use the same amount of paint. And I'm going to show you that blowback method we were talking about early on when we were, let me shake this up. Give it a good shake. Early on when we were talking about getting set up and stuff, you can use this blowback method to mix it up. So I've got the same amount of paint here. I'm going to go ahead and put that in. I'm going to add a little bit more just because there's some residual on the sides. Now I can use, because I'm doing like another gradient project, I'm not switching colors to add details. I can do another sort of color to color change out here. I don't have to clean it completely, because what I'm doing for this project is another sort of gradient, a little gradient thing going on. So it'd be really easy for me to just add paint to the cup without having to do a full-on cleaning, because I'm just doing some more little gradient things. I also want to use this thinner to clean the dropper out. So I put a little bit of that cleaner thinner into the dropper here, and I'm just cleaning it out, squirting it. If you're wondering what I'm doing over here, that's what I'm doing. Making sure my little eyedropper is clean. I don't like for it to get dirty. Okay. So that's kind of the drawback to using these enamels, is that they're much trickier to clean. You've got to have some kind of cleaner. You can't just use water to do the rinsing, because it doesn't work. Gotta have some of that cleaner. Okay. So I'm going to show you real quick how the blowback method works. So you're going to want to turn on your airbrush. Where's my button? There it is. Zoom in here so you can see. I'm going to just put my finger here over the nozzle, and you can see it bubbles up in there, and it's kind of mixing it. It's a little messy. Normally you'd want to do this with the top on. But because I'm trying to show you, I don't have the top on. I want you to be able to see that we're mixing it up there. So that's a great little method to mix it up in the cup. Use that little blowback method. Cover up the nozzle and just start letting that air flow back through the cup. Okay, now we're going to start painting. Got my first color in here. I've got my knob just kind of halfway. I don't want it to be full on, because I kind of want to get a little bit of detail, but I don't want it to be like fine details. We're making some like swirl patterns and gradients here. Here we go. So you can see this enamel paint really is adhering well to this plastic. If you'd see the comparison between trying to paint with that acrylic and how it just wants to bead up and it doesn't want to adhere. It gets really frustrating when you're trying to paint something and it just doesn't want to stick. So this enamel paint really works well. So I'm kind of doing the same thing I did here with the cake. I'm just kind of using this this tan creamy color as like a base coat. This is going to be kind of the background color. And I'm just painting it all over to give the plane a good coat. Put a piece of old poster board down here on the surface so I didn't get my work area too dirty. So I'm just adding some color. I'm really going to add more details in with my two greens here. All right, I think we're good, you guys. So, wanted to show you another thing real quick. So, we used the heat gun earlier on the t-shirt, but you can also use it on these enamel products. Let me turn that off while I'm talking. So, you can see that the oil takes a lot longer to dry. It's still wet. If I let it go like this, it would take a while to dry on its own, but the heat gun makes it pretty quick. So I just make sure I keep it at a good distance because I don't want it to over scorch the paint. Okay, so we've got a very nice little camoed piece here. Nice little scale model piece is all done. I'm gonna just set it to the side in case it's not completely dry. My hands are covered in paint, you guys. Been in here all day shooting and filming and doing projects, and I am just covered in paint. Okay, so let's move on to maintenance and care. So I've been painting all day, doing projects all day. Now it's time to break this down and really give it a good clean. I'm gonna initially rinse out the paint that's in there. I've got the enamel paint in there, so I'm going to use my enamel cleaner and give it a good rinse, and then we're going to take it apart and really clean it.